Good afternoon, world. This is Eddie Johnson, EJ Automotive Detail Innovator, and today I want to talk about the steps that most automotive detailers went through if they started buffing cars or got into the automotive detailing industry. I would say the 70s, which I started in the automotive detailing industry in 79, and I got my first automotive detailing job at a dealership in my hometown of Mobile, Alabama in 1980. Now, I'm not sure about other cities and states, but at the time I got in automotive detailing, most of the cars that I was doing, I would actually say all the cars I was doing, wasn't clear coat cars. They had base coat enamel paint. So they didn't have that extra layer that clear coat put over the paint, the actual paint, to protect the paint. So if you don't know, if you're learning how to buff, it was easier to burn paint then when it wasn't no clear coat than it got to be with performing buff jobs with cars that had clear coat on them. Now, since I started in an era of time where the cars I was doing wasn't clear coat, when I first started doing full details, and eventually after the full detail was done, or eventually after the prep job was done, regardless of the method that I used to prep a car, I give you some basic prepping steps. I would say, far as what I do, I give the car a general inspection. I walk around the car, I look at the paint, especially on the hood, the top, and the trunk, to try to notice if I see any water spots. Do I see any tree sap or anything sticky on the exterior paint? I know sometimes you won't be able to catch things on an exterior prep job when the car is already dirty. And some of the things you would notice about a car would happen after you wash the car and dry the car off. At that time, you could look at the car and you could really evaluate the car. But my evaluation starts time I walk up to the car. I'm trying to get a general idea in my mind on what all I gotta do. Now, for the prepping part, I pre-wet the car. I do to the complete motor compartment. I do, if the car's a sedan with 4 doors, I will clean all jams. I will clean the fuel door. And in the process of cleaning the rims, I would make sure I pressure wash up in the fender wells at the same time. Some of the fender wells that's extremely dirty or extremely stained, I might spray some wheel acid in the fender well, then turn around and rinse the wheel acid out. More likely I use degreaser and wheel acid because I don't want to turn the fender wells completely white, because acid is known to do that, cause it's strong. And even if you're not making it strong, it's still a possibility that it might change the spindle wheel color. So I usually spray degreaser first. Um, then I spray the acid on next, and then I rinse it off. I usually do one spindle wheel and one rim at a time. If I'm forced for time, I do, say if I'm on the driver, I'm starting on the driver's side, I spray the driver front and the driver back, spin the wheel down with the acid and degreaser together. Now, if I'm planning on painting the fender wells or the undercarriage, or just say fender wells and undercarriage, I have no problems making my acid stronger because I already know I want to get off as much grease and dirt and particle I can. That way my paint have a better chance of drying faster and looking newer if I get as much debris off the fender well, underneath the fender well as possible. Okay, after I got through done the fender wells and the rims, then at that time, if the car didn't need a acid wash, when I say acid wash, I'm talking about actually wheel aluminum, foam and aluminum acid. Later, as time went on, chemical got better, and they started making chemicals that would take water spots off cars, and you didn't have to use acid unless you wanted to. Then they came out with a product that was it was a paste, like thick like Elmer's glue, the paste Elmer glue. And you buff that in with a wool pad, then another guy come in behind you and buff in another step. But I didn't start doing that until the early 90s. Okay, after I finish prepping the car, I get the car over in the area that I'm working in. And at that point, let me back up. After I give the car a chemical bath, if it needs a chemical bath, I clay bar the car. After I prep the car and I notice the car exterior paint don't have any water spots on it, then I just give it a clay bar, and I might not do a chemical acid wash bath. Okay, to show the viewers a better understanding of the buffing techniques that I'm gonna mention, I set up my buffers prior just to give y'all a demonstration. I'm gonna turn the camera around, and I'm only speaking for the way I learned. Okay, I'm self-taught. I'm not a automotive detailer that was cloned. In other words, I didn't copy nobody else's style. Now, it was tips that other automotive detailers with more experience than I had gave me. But when it came down to the basics of where my skills lied, they lied in on me, learning as I go. And as you learn as you go, you're gonna make some mistakes. So you learn from your mistakes and you try to continue to grow. And I think before I give y'all the demonstration on the actual buffers that I'm talking about and the methods I'm gonna talk about, I want to make it known that I started working for a dealership in '80. All right, back in the '80s, they had a higher rate of high school dropouts than what they currently have in the world today. For whatever reason, it was a lot of guys that I knew that had dropped out of school. Some of them didn't go to the Army. Matter of fact, a lot of them didn't go to the Army. Some of them did take up some form of trade. Some of them got arrested and ended up going to reform school, where the reform school they was at offered a trade like brick masonry or small lawnmower rebuilding, and they took their trade up. Others worked for the city. Others work as custodians, doing some form of labor work. Then you have others that might have worked for a shipyard. Now, I was fortunate enough to work at a shipyard. I think I worked for a shipyard in Baller Battery maybe 6 or 8 months. That didn't have nothing to do with, it didn't stop me from doing mobile detailing. It didn't stop me from doing family and friends cars when I had time. It was just a way for me to make more consistent money. And working at the shipyard at the time was paying more money than what detail was paying. It was paying a lot more money than a lot of other jobs was paying. So I did do that for a little bit. Okay, back to the people, for whatever, the guys, for whatever reason they didn't complete the 12th grade. When you interacting with guys like that have taken automotive detailing, it's like they breathed it in their nostrils and it became a part of their entity. Automotive detailing started as a inner being in these guys, and they took it very serious. Some of the guys I detailed with or against or competed against at dealerships and salons, they never done nothing but automotive detailing. They never tried to do anything else. They didn't want to do nothing else. So it's hard to beat a person that decided they're going to make their money doing one way, doing one particular trade. Because once a person make that decision, 9 times out of 10, they're going to take that trade serious to the point to where they're going to try to learn as much as they possibly can. That way, in the long run, eventually they can make more money than what they started off making. All right, so I gave y'all that piece of history just to say it wasn't a lot of knowledge given in the automotive detailing industry when it came down to me working against other detailers. I was always told that it's like we're athletes, but we're on separate teams. Let's say we're boxers, right? So since you're a boxer and I'm a boxer, it's an individual sport. We competing against you. So it's not my job to make you better than what I am. If you desire to be better than I am, then you got to figure it out on your own, on what you need to do to elevate your skills. So I wanted to throw that out now, because now you got you got the internet, social media, you got YouTube. You could go on YouTube and you could damn near learn anything you want to learn about any kind of job. The knowledge is there. When I was coming up and when I decided to do automotive detailing in 1980, I never had no intentions of staying in automotive detailing as long as I did. It was just something else I knew how to do good enough to get money. Now, when I say get money, I see it as, cause I saw it like that then, but I see it more like that now because I'm fully trained in the automotive detailing industry. I've been in the automotive detailing industry for 44 years. Now, it's so many different levels. It's so many other entities that can fail up under the automotive detailing trade that you either grow with that time and learn how to do those things, or figure out what part of automotive detailing you want to do to be as good as you desire to be, and concentrate on that. At least that's what I done. I never had any intentions of doing a whole lot of wet sanding. Yeah, I done worked in several body shops and I had the wet sand. But one thing about working at a body shop and you doing wet sanding, if you mess something up by sanding it too long or too hard and remove paint, that body shop is equipped with a spray booth and painters that could fix your error. But when you doing that shit, when you doing that stuff by yourself, when you doing it independently, and you're trying to make money doing it, and if you mess up someone's automobile, wet sanding, and then it's up to you to fix that. So there goes the profit that you would have made for performing an exterior detail on that car, or maybe it's a full detail. Now you got to figure out who you're going to get to fix that problem that you created, right? So that problem end up costing you more money. It costs you the money you was going to get off the project, right along with whatever money you have to spend to get the problem corrected. So I never got into wet sanding like that to the point where I wanted to add it to my detail regimen. I did not. All right. Boys, buffing techniques. It's a lot of different buffing techniques. I was talking with a co-worker a couple of months ago, and I looked up on Google the definition of paint correction and how much paint correction, how much a person or customer should look to pay if they're getting a paint correction done. And it had different variations of paint corrections, right? So I'm talking with my co-worker, and he says, EJ, to be honest, we're not doing paint corrections here. And I say, excuse me, what did you say? He said, we're not doing no paint corrections. I say, so what are we doing inside the wash bay when we prepping the car? You know, I said, some of the cars have acid water spots or some type of fallout on them. So we got to perform either a fallout remover, or we got to perform an acid wash to get the water spots off the exterior much as possible. And if the water spots is heavily on the glass, and say if the car got sunroof, okay, you got a sunroof, you got a front windshield, you got a back windshield that's heavily stained with water spots, you got to do something about that. Not just the body of the car. I said, don't you think any form of water spot removal, any form of water spot removal, right along with clay bar in the car, because you got to do all that before you start buffing, regardless what step of buffing or stages in buffing you're going to do. It's everything depends on the prep, what you got to do in the wash bay to prep the car to get the car ready for the buffing. Okay, the average car, especially when I was in it in 80 and forward, I would say the average car, we was doing 3 steps. Okay, that's just 3-step buffing techniques. That doesn't count the prep. The prep with clay-borne, acid, water spot removal, or fallout removal. That's 2 different steps right there. And if it got tree sap, that's another step. Okay, so let's just say you got acid water spot removal, You got clay bar, you got a tree sap removal, and you buff the car 3 different times. That's 6 stages, 6 steps. Or you buff the car twice and you get a hand wax. That's still 3 steps. Okay, when I first started buffing cars out, I'm gonna turn this camera around and give y'all an idea what I'm talking about. Bear with me. Okay, when I first started buffing cars, I'm gonna say my first buffer that I owned was a Milwaukee. I bought it at a pawn shop. Now, this buffer here, when I picked it up, it just made me flex my bicep. And I wasn't trying to do it, it's just heavy. Now, the first buffer I used was a Milwaukee, and it was a 1-speed buffer, and that was very extremely high. The 1-speed Milwaukee buffer was higher than this buffer here speed, regardless how high I ran it. Okay, this particular buffer has high and low gears on it. So the Milwaukee that I use, 1 speed was higher than me putting this on high speed, which is L, which is for the highs, right? Well, let me take that back. L is low and H is high. The high speed on the Milwaukee was higher, and it revved harder, it revved louder, it was heavier, and it spent faster RPMs than this buffer do right here on high, okay? All right, I just wanted to show you this because this is the second buffer that I end up owning. The Milwaukee buffer that I bought, I kept it for several years. And then when I went to go buy a brand new buffer, I bought a Makita buffer. This one that I just showed y'all. And then as I was talking to the salesman, he said, you know, we do give discounts if you trade your old buffer in. And I said, I don't think nobody want that old buffer. It's like obsolete. He would say, even though it might be obsolete, you trade it in, we'll knock a few dollars off, and I traded in. Later, I found out that the buffers that get traded in got rebuilt and resold. So that's why he really wanted the buffer. At that point, I stopped trading my buffers in. That's why you see me with all these damn Makitas right here, and I got one at home. I got two at work in my locker. Okay, the first step we used back then was wool pad buff job, okay? That was the first stage. Wool pad with some form of cutting cream, right? Some form of cream that's gonna take out the scratches, lighten the scratches, and bring a higher shine out, okay? All right, the second, let me say this, as time went on, they went from the wool pad that I showed you first to the foam cutting pad. I think it was in the late 90s or early 2000s when I seen a foam cutting pad. The foam cutting pad, for my opinion, is pretty good. It get hot real fast, and you got to be careful with it, because to me, I've almost burned more paint quicker with the foam cutting pad than I did with the wood cutting pad. And that could easily be because I'm more familiar with the wood pad. This is how I started, right? Okay. Say we started with the wood cutting pad. The next step we had to go would be, I'm gonna have to stand up to get this buffer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I probably should have shot it down on the ground. All right, this This is an old school orbital buffer. It didn't matter if you buffed a car, a dark car, color car, dark exterior car, or a light exterior car. Whenever you use that wool pad, even when you use this bone cutting pad, you had to go back over it with this. This and some form of wax or some form of glaze. If I had to guess, this weighed maybe about 10 pounds. And man, when you ran this over a body or exterior of a car, you felt it. You felt it in your arm, you felt it in your back, you felt it in your elbows. This got the job done. Now they had a couple pads to use. The one that I got on here now, or I had a pad that looked like this, but it was made almost like it was nylon or plastic, and it hold more buffing cream than the regular this did. So it just depends on which one you wanted to use. So I'm not going to stand back up. I'm just going to sit this buffer down. But you started out with the wool pad that I showed you first. Then you went with this pad. Okay. After you went over it with this pad, you had a couple choices. You could use another kind of wax, or maybe carnauba or something, and change these pads out, and use some carnauba and go back over it. Or you could whoop out a can of wax and use the can wax to go back over. Okay, that's 3 steps. All right, and what I mean can wax, if you didn't want to use the orbital buffer to put on your 3rd step liquid wax, then you could always use this paste can wax. All right. Okay. I'm gonna sit this down. All right. As time went on, things changed up. People went from using the wool pad to this. And this when it started getting real interesting, because I love this finishing glaze pad right here. So it went from how to use the big heavy overballs that I showed you to going to this. Now, this is variable speed. You could adjust your RPMs to buff up and down. So it made it a lot easier than using the oval machine. To be honest with you, I could take this wool pad, buff a car out, go back over it with this here, with this kind of pads and some glaze, and give it a hand wax. Now I done did 3 steps, and that's complete. All right. As time went on, then DA buffers started coming out. And I tell you, I didn't own a buffer that could apply wax as fast as a DA buffer. I haven't owned a buffer that was as light and took various different pads until, for its size, like I did when I started using the DA buffer. Now here's the deal. With the DA buffer, I didn't start using the DA buffer, I would say 2018. That's how long that's really not that long ago. That's like 6 years ago. Yeah, about 6 years ago when I started using the DA buffer. Okay, after the DA buffer, then is when the dual action buffer started coming about. Now, I want to backstep for a minute. When I was telling y'all about this big heavy buffer right here, orbital, they started making them lighter, right? Because technology is always changing, and it's changing and growing with the times. So they made this. This is the same thing. This is so damn light I could use this all day. Now, if you wanted to make sure that that was capable of taking out the swirls like the big heavy orbital did, sometimes you might have to press a little harder down when you're working it, not to the point where it can't make its full rotation, just enough to the point where it gotten a little bit more, what they call it, torque, giving it a little bit more torque. All right, from those, it went to dual action. Now, you talking about trying to get used to a buffer. A dual action buffer is one of the most hardest buffers I ever used. You know, the way it turns one way and it turning another way at the same time and it's pivoting, it's definitely different. Maybe it's definitely different for me because for 38 years, maybe almost 40, that I've been using high speed, I used the orbital buffer, and from the orbital buffer, I went into the DA. But in order to change with the times of paint, to become an innovator, you gotta change with the times. You gotta be able to adapt and overcome. So since buying my first dual action buffer, look how that looks. You got one high, you got one end that's high right here, and then when you turn it this way, it's low. Then it gets back high again right here. You know, it's a nice buffer. I think I used this buffer for the first time maybe 6 months ago on a dark car. Matter of fact, it was a black i4 BMW, and it did a damn good job. All right. I ain't never been a person like having no one piece of equipment, because what's happened, one go bad, then you out of business or you can't complete your job. I've had it happen to me too many times. So when I went and done, I really stepped up. I bought myself the Swirl Killer. This is a 21 slang buffer. Look at that. Now, I haven't used it yet because I got the other one that I just showed y'all. I got that dual action buffer. But I'm going to use it sometime this year. And I've already said if I use it, I definitely got to get paid for using it. I'm talking about more than I normally would get paid. Now, just to show you that I stay on time, I showed you the old DA buffer. Introduce y'all to my new DA buffer. Now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 Makitas on my table. I got 2 in my locker. That's 6. I got 2 DAs and 2 dual action buffers. Do I need that many buffers? No, I don't. Do I like having these kind of buffers? That many buffers? Yes, I do. I'll tell you why. I like having these this many buffers because I went to go do a car one time. I took 3 buffers with me. During the process of doing the car, I had to do 2 cars, right? They was for a car club in the Seattle area called Aftermath. They was getting ready for a car show at a casino, an Indian-owned, a Native American, let's put it like that, Native American casino property. And so I went to do the mobile on 2 different cars, a 65 Impala blue and a 80-something model Buick the Sabre. Matter of fact, it was 80 because I loved the body style of the 80. I owned the 80 once, and I got it from a dealership because someone traded it in dealership, asked me would I take it off their hands, and they say, you do 2 details for us, you can have the car. I didn't need the car, but I liked the body style. And I said, okay, so what? I do the 2 used car details for them. And that's how I ended up with the car. I never spent any time working on the car, period. No bus job, no nothing. Because once my brother saw it, he liked it, I gave it to my brother. All right. I went to go do those 2 cars for the car show. All 3 of my buffers, extension cords, or triggers was giving me problems. To the point where I barely finished one car. Didn't look like I was going to be able to finish the other one. I took the money that both parties paid me for doing their cars. I went to Home Depot and I bought me a Makita. Okay, I went back, I finished the job. When the next week came, I put 2 of the buffers in the shop. Once I got them back, I put the 3rd one that was giving me problems in the shop. And that's one of the reasons why I have 6. And to be honest, I plan on getting another one before the end of the year. Because you could never get enough of anything that have proved to itself that it can make you money. Now, to touch bases on what drove me to learn how to, because I had problems making dark cars look like mirrors. You know that mirror shine look? I had problems doing that. By this time, I'm living in Georgia, and I'm doing automotive detailing, right? And the guys that I'm asking for advice, none of them giving me no help or hints. They telling me I just got to figure it out like they did. So once I realized no one was trying to help me educate myself, I asked the chemical guy that come through to let me get a catalog. Before he gave me the catalog, I asked, would the catalog tell me about your buffing pads, all your buffing creams, and how to use the creams and what the pads use, what the pads do? And he said, yes, it would. He said, it educate you on the degreasers, the acids, the clay bars, anything that I sell on this truck that's got something to do with car care appearances. It's going to be in that catalog. It's going to give you a price, and it's going to tell you how to use it. I said, okay. I get the catalog. I take the catalog home. Over the weekend, I look through the catalog. I educated myself by trying product that the catalog carried to see if it worked. And that's how I started getting the mirror shine on the cars. And it was a simple fix if I would have been reading what I'm using. Because the only thing changed, the buffers didn't change, the buffing technique didn't change, the buffing pads changed, and the cream that I had to use to help get rid of the swirls and restore that mirror shine. That was it. It was something that I wasn't using. And when I look back at it now, it was a lot of stuff kept in cabinets locked at the dealership that I was at that time. We talking about this is like 94 that I didn't have access to. So the product that I needed to take the swirls out, I didn't have access to the product. And I wouldn't have never known it was a product that I was missing if I would have never got the catalog book from the chemical car care appearance guy that came around once a week and did my own research. Nowadays, you can go on YouTube, you can learn how to rebuild a motor, you can learn how to buff a car, you can learn how to do body work. It's just so much you could learn on YouTube. You could even Google and ask Google certain questions, and Google will be able to answer them. So in order to sum it up, the right equipment, the right chemicals, the right pads, and know-how. You know, the ability to comprehend what you read, the ability to be able to perform after you comprehend is some of the best things that an automotive detailer, especially one that want to be like me. I wanted to specialize in buffing cars out. I wanted to specialize in being able to make my dark cars look like mirrors. And I got to the point to where I could do it, and I do it good. I do it so good at my job, it's cars they will tell me, EJ, we need this car real fast, and since it's a light color car, we don't think you have to buff it. I got a reputation for buffing down to every car I touch. You know, and I know it's time consuming. And I've had people say, man, you're not gonna learn no more. You're pretty much maxed out. How much more you think you can learn after being in the detailing game as long as you been game, detail trade, right? Industry, game is all the game. And I would say the day I feel like I learned everything I could possibly learn in automotive detailing, when it comes down to exterior buffing, some of this other stuff I don't really care about if I go to the next level on that. To be honest, when I had my own detail shop right in the area I live in the city of Burien, Washington, I specialize in steaming engine compartments and buff jobs. I did not do wash jobs at EJ's. If you wasn't trying to get a full detail or an exterior detail from me, I didn't want to wash your car, right? Because if you wash your car right, to some people, a wash job with the windows being done, tires shine, better not let you damn prep the door jams and vacuum clean the car out. That's a detail. You done just done that much work for less than half of what you would have got for a full detail. And to me, it's not worth it. You know, I don't like doing interiors like that enough to, I gotta have something that's gonna make me excited enough to want to do an interior. Now, if you're getting the full detail, yeah, I do your interior. I do your interior so good, you'll swear that I like doing interiors. But if you're just trying to get me to do an interior, and that's it, I don't want to have anything to do with it. If you're trying to get me to do, now if you want me to do your engine compartment and a buff job, I would gladly do that. Because to me, a prep job consists of doing the motor, all the jams, the rims and the tires, and cleaning the fender wells, and cleaning the fuel door, right? So if you want me to do your motor, I'm going to do everything I just named in a prep job. And then if I have to do a water spot removal, or fallout removal, clay bar your car, or tree sap your car, remove tree sap off your car, that's always going to be tied up in the price of the exterior buff job. And it depends on how much of exterior buff job, or let me put it like this, it depends on the condition of your paint, on what all I have to do and how much I'm going to charge. It's been times I underestimated my time. I underestimated the steps I was going to have to perform to make that car satisfactory to me, because I'm hard to please when it comes down to exterior work, buff job and motor and door jams and stuff like that, prepping. I'm hard to please. When I say I'm hard to please, there's a certain way it gotta look for me to feel good about what I did, right? Every time I underestimated my time and what all I had to do, I never passed the buck to the customer, because I'm the professional. Somewhere down the line, if I underestimated my time, what it was gonna take to make it right, as long as it turned out right, I eat it. I eat the money I lost. What I don't like is spending a lot of time on something that I can't make it look better. That's why every time someone want me to do a buff job, especially one of my coworkers at work, the first thing I do is tell them I want to visually inspect their car. I want to look at their paint. I want to look at the top. I want to look at the trunk, and I want to look at the hood, because the sun and the weather, the rain, all this stuff affects the inclined surface of the car before it affects anything else, unless your car been in a car accident or something. Looking at the hood, looking at the top, looking at the trunk, let me know what all I gotta do. I could give a firm price and be pretty accurate just by looking at the inclined surface of a car. If I'm unsure, I would tell them I want to buff some spots to try to figure out what buffing technique, what kind of pad I need to use, and what kind of cream I need to use. Once I do that, I'm more than confident that I'm going to perform the job up to their standards, because I done already passed my standards. And like I said, I am very, very particular about my buff jobs. I care that much about them that it gotta look a certain kind of way. It gotta look that way for me before I even let you look at it. Before I even take your money, it gotta look a certain way to me in order for me to feel good about taking a customer's money. And regardless who they are, regardless how much money they spending, if they're spending money with me and I'm performing a service for them, they're a customer. All right, this is EJ. I hope I said some things that will help new, up and coming automotive detailers, or maybe even help some of the older ones that been in the game for a long time too. I'm going to sign off right now and have a great day. Peace.